Feature Review. I'm John, the host, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Jason Alt.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
How's it going indeed? We are reviewing, for the very first time on this show, a short, and that is The Telltale Heart, directed by McLane Lindquist. Let's take a look. This is filmed in Salt Lake City and Ogden, Utah. This is from second-time short director McLane Lindquist. But before we get into any more of the details about it, what did you think of The Telltale Heart?
I thought for a second-time filmmaker, it was pretty slick. There's clearly some reverence for the source material. McLane Lindquist is kind of a morbid guy, apparently. He's a mortician, in addition to being a horror movie cinephile. So I think something this morbid is going to be right up his alley. And it seemed like he really had respect for the source material and wanted to do something a little kind of off-kilter with it, where it wasn't clear in which time period it was set. And I kind of like when a movie does something like that.
Yeah, I want to get to that in a little bit, but like you mentioned, this is from director and producer McLane Lindquist. You said he's a musician also, as well as being a full-time mortician. I actually like a quote from him. He said, "This intense movie was an undertaking, and helped me to release buried emotions and compartmentalized grief." So I kind of like that this was like a therapeutic exercise for him. He did change some things. I thought it was slick, it was clean, it was polished. The camera work was just spot on, as well as the lighting, all the music, that was all to the nines. The issue, and I guess it was a strong point for you, but yeah, it was a little off-putting to me that I couldn't figure out what time period they were going for, because you have the traditional narrator, you have the old man, and that's all very much to the book, and they're speaking in the cadence and the language that they do in an Edgar Allan Poe novel. But then you drop these two other characters, and it's only four cast members in the entire thing, and you have this detective, and he's like a crime noir kind of gumshoe, like right out of the 50s. And then you have just like a modern day officer, and she's just there. And then like you have an old timey house, and he's dressed.
But it's got like a modern hospital bed. Like the dude's in like the old timey like nightcap, a big floppy hat, but like he's in a modern hospital bed. Yeah. See, I found that charming. I didn't really like love this, because I was like, who asked someone to make The Telltale Heart? Sure. But at the same time, like, it seems like everything that you found a little bit like a weird choice, I actually found charming. I sort of like that he's like, this is a story that can be told at any time period, so why not transcend them? I thought that was a bold choice, and I liked it. And he went for it, and I think that's commendable.
I like the way you explain that. Yeah, it is a story that transcends. I mean, this was a story that was written in 1870 something, and it's still being told today. And you can't say that about a lot of literature. Not a lot of literature is that timeless. So I do like that. I like the way you put that. But just as far as the filmmaking goes, it felt like a mix between like a Refn, an Edgar Wright film, with like those early 2000 horrors, like a Steve Beck and a William Malone that did like Haunting a Hill House and like Ghost Ship and stuff, because you had a lot of that like fast shaking thing, which totally scared the shit out of my sister. Like when we were growing up, like she works at like the Zach Baggins museum of like hauntedness or whatever, so she's always playing with like a Dybbuk box, but for whatever reason, like that like fast movement of like that shaky face thing like is super terrifying to her. Just side note, but yeah, they employ that a lot, and they do like I said, it was just a lot of cool camera tricks, a lot of flash zooms that you'd find in a less traditional horror film, more like an Edgar Wright. But yeah, it's super interesting to look at.
So I thought it was executed pretty well. It seems like he's got a small but very talented crew working on it. And for a second film, I'm glad he picked something. He got to be ambitious within the scope of a small project versus like not being able to be that ambitious on a larger project. So I kind of think he could be really slick and stylized and do a lot of kind of flashy things because the project was so discreet and manageable. You got a small cast, a small setting, and you've got a story that everybody knows all the beats to. So really he could flex his creativity in other ways, and I think that was a good choice for a newer filmmaker. He could have made something much longer, but I think he really showed off that he's got some chops. I think the cinematography was good. And you don't always see, so like you see like a film has good bones, but like a better cinematographer could have done a better job. I think the cinematography was very good, and I think this was a good showing for someone who wants to be given more money to do a more ambitious project. I think he kind of showed with something very discreet and manageable. I can really show off my chops, and I think this was like a good audition tape.
Looks like it cost a few bucks. We've reviewed quite a bit of screeners and just more indie films, and this looked like it had some. It was made in Utah and all that, but it still looks like it had like real professionals behind the camera, at least in the editing room. Also, the makeup and the practical effects hit about 80% of the time, but the scenes were so frantically paced, your brain doesn't even have like enough time to be like, hey, that old man makeup really doesn't hold up that well.
The old man makeup looks like it's really terrible, and I wonder if that was a choice.
Oh.
Because it's so bad, you're like, I think this was a choice.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. It just looked like... It looked really strange. It looked like Johnny Knoxville, kind of like bad grandpa makeup.
Yeah, exactly.
But then like they added like the nightmare scenes, which is like, to your point, they probably did it on purpose, because the things that were so like terrifying and like the eyeball and all the things that they meant to be scary, they got right. Like the hard part, they got right. It was the old man makeup. I was like, wait, what? So there was a lot of that in this little, compact, sausage, this 22-minute runtime, where I was just like, man, that's awesome, but what? But I'm glad, like you said, that he showed more restraint. We didn't have like they didn't pull this out to like a 90-minute runtime when there obviously isn't enough content for that.
Yeah, I think this shows that like this director, and maybe like whoever from this crew he'd like to work with again, could, given enough money, tackle a bigger project. So I think that's what they were going for with this. They really wanted to showcase what good cinematographers they were. So they didn't worry about writing something original. They just took some risks with a story everybody knew, and I thought that was a good choice. So, at the risk of like starting to repeat myself, it was such a short movie. There's not a ton to say about it, other than that I thought it was fairly competently made for a second-time filmmaker. I was impressed.
And obviously, we've just said ad nauseum how much we liked how the film was shot and the music and all that. But this had 4 people total as cast members. What did you feel about the performances?
I thought they were fine. They were constrained a lot by the story. So... Also, they were just delivering Poe's dialogue, so there's even less room for your chops as an actor to shine. So, like, really, all they had to do was just not be terrible to the point where they were noticeable, and I didn't think anybody was so terrible it took me out of it.
Yeah. I really liked Mika Olsen because she was the Officer Sharp. She was our POV character, just like she was as confused as we were. Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, why is this guy dressed like this, talking like this? Newcomer, I guess this was his. It says introducing Sonny Grimsley, who played the narrator. Obviously, he's doing Poe, so he's talking to the back of the room. He's doing it. It felt ripped right out of a stage play, which was kind of strange at times because it was just like uneven. But then when he was like, the more he descended into madness, the more I was really getting into his performance. The moments of terror are what really impressed me as far as his performance goes. So yeah, I agree with you. Across the board, everyone did fine, especially those two kind of stood out to me. But yeah, that's, like Jason said, there isn't a ton to say about The Telltale Heart. I know that this is now hitting the festival circuit. It's going to be shown at a lot of places, and then the director told me essentially that after it does its run, then they're going to talk about streaming services and whatnot. So I'm impressed, and I would love to see what McLean Lindquist does next.
And I think that's really the takeaway here is like, you can't really find this anywhere, but like, this is a thing that we liked, and I would like to see more from this director.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to see more from us, you can go ahead and thumbs up this video, subscribe to the channel, tell everyone that we're talking about films and reviewing indie films. Just hashtag support indie film. But I am John the Host, at John the Host, and that is Mr. Jason Alt. Where can everyone find you, sir?
I'm Jason E. Alt on Twitter, and I have a pinned post at the top of my profile that says all the other projects I work on around the internet.
Follow us at film_hooligans, and we will see you next time.